Greetings Internet, this is Chris McKee with Alamo Music Center in San Antonio, Texas. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. Today we want to talk a bit about some of the Fender guitars that are available, more specifically about the origin of manufacturing and what's available on those guitars. Now Fender, on the brand Fender, makes guitars in three places primarily. That is made in Mexico, made in Japan, and made in the USA. Now, in all of those places, there is a large line of different models that are made, and we wanted to talk a little bit about what you might find and what it might sound like on three specific guitars on the made in Mexico versus made in Japan versus made in US product. We're going to start here. This is one of the made in Mexico guitars, and this is actually one of the new Player Series Stratocasters. Now, in their Mexico factory, Fender produces a number of different series of guitars, starting from the offset line that goes for right around $500, and those are your Duosonics and your Mustangs, all the way up through classic series guitars that are basically reissues of Jazzmasters and Stratocasters and Telecasters and so forth. And some of those even have nitrocellulose lacquer finishes, hard shell cases, and whatnot, and top out just around $1,000 for some of the most expensive ones. So there's a broad, about $500 range in price on the product, and you can find everything from a more modern take on a guitar like this Stratocaster, which is modern bridge and more modern tuners, Alnico 2 pickups, and a lot of things that we recently reviewed on this fantastic guitar, to something that's very vintage accurate as far as the spec goes. And it's a fantastic product. What they've been producing out of their Mexico factory has been top quality, consistent product for many, many years. And they've been doing that since the 1990s. So what it offers is people who want to own a Fender product the way to get a really good, well-built, great sounding guitar for under $1,000. And so that's what you are getting out of the Made in Mexico line. Now we're going to play this and put it up to some two other Stratocasters so you can hear some of the subtle differences that you might get from one line to the next. Let's compare it to another one. This really cool guitar is actually made in Japan. So this is a Fender Stratocaster, and this is an FSR model for 2018 that is made in the Japan factory. Now, FSR stands for Fender Special Run, and that's pretty much what we're going to get now in the United States if it's a Japanese-built Fender. Now, right now, Fender is making guitars in Japan for the Japanese market, and it shows up pretty often in European markets. But in the US, usually it's an FSR or limited edition model that we're going to get from Japan. Fender Japan has some notoriety. Some of the guitars are really sought after from collectors and aficionados. So let me tell you a little bit about the history. Back in 1982, when a lot of you guys watching this were either, well, into having jobs or not born yet, that tends to be the audience here. Back in 1982, when I was a wee pup, Fender, in kind of a tumultuous time in their history, started producing guitars in Japan. And at the time, they were being manufactured by other companies, actually until very recently. So they were building these in Japan, and then in the early 80s, Fender, owned by CBS, was bought back by basically a takeover by the employees of Fender. It was changed into FMIC, Fender Musical Instruments Corporation, and they eventually began building the American line of guitars that we know. At that point, there was less product coming in from Japan. It kind of faded away to the US market as the American market took over. But a lot of those early Japanese Fender guitars, like I said, they're very sought after and they're fantastic instruments. In 2015, Fender started producing the guitars themselves in Japan. And so the guitar that I'm holding right now is not produced by another company for Fender. It is made by Fender in Japan, and it is really cool. So there's a whole line of these guitars that have this racing stripe. And outside of that, it's basically kind of a standard Stratocaster, vintage style pickups, 5-way toggle, nothing really outlandish. There's not special woods or anything like that, just a really cool take on it. That's not always the case though. So I'll show you this. This is a really cool guitar. that we just got that's made in Japan. This is an offset all mahogany Telecaster. So it's basically kind of like a Jaguar body with a Telecaster setup, Telecaster neck, and it's all mahogany. It's a beautiful instrument. It's a Telecaster pickup and a P90 in the neck position. That's very cool. Let me show you another one here real quick as I juggle these guitars back and forth. This one also just arrived. This is kind of a vintage 60s vibe Jazzmaster. This one is a traditional series that's made in Japan, kind of like the classic series in the Made in Mexico line. And this happens to have the really cool blue flower motif paint job on it, if you will. So, excuse me, for about $1,000 with a gig bag, you get a very cool, very unique Jazzmaster. And since it's an FSR, it's a limited run, they're not going to be made for very long. So that's the kind of thing that you're seeing out of Fender Japan. They're really cool guitars. You can find some unique pieces, whether it's just a paint job like this guy or a mahogany offset Telecaster, which you would never see otherwise. So that's Fender Japan in a nutshell. Let's compare it to the American product. So in the American factory in Corona, California, Fender produces, again, a few series of guitars, starting with the American Special, which is the least expensive American-built Fender that you can purchase new, and then going up to the elite models and even custom shop models that can be several $1,000s for very unique, vintage-inspired and relic instruments. But the flagship of the line is the American Professional series, which is what I have here. Now this is an American Professional Stratocaster in Olympic white with a maple fingerboard. It's following a tried and true recipe that was tweaked a few years ago when they moved from what was called the American Standard to the American Professional series. The idea is to make a guitar that is truly worthy of a professional, not that the American standards weren't before, but to basically rebrand it as they brought some new changes to it, like a slightly deeper neck profile, different frets, a bone nut, new pickups that are a combination of Alamo 2 and 5s, so on and so forth, pop and tremolo arm, new cases. Basically a tweak to the lineup with a new name to go along with it. So in the American series, like I said, you can get the Pros, you can get the Specials, you can get the Elite models, which takes this guitar and then gives it a lot of modern conveniences like compound neck, compound radiuses, noiseless pickups, and so forth, or something from the custom shop where you basically can dream up your ideal instrument or find something that's cool and unique that they've already made for you. So that's what you're getting out of Fender, whether it's made in Mexico, made in Japan, or made in the US. They're all great instruments with a lot of value that's baked into them. If you don't believe me, compare it to another US-built electric guitar. Or, here's another one, how about an electric guitar that's import from another brand that costs just as much as this one? This is a lot of value, so is the made in Japan, so is the made in Mexico. They all bring unique attributes to it and some cool fun stuff along the way at different price points to suit every budget need. Now, we're going to compare the Stratocaster so you can hear the differences between them. And we're using the Strats because, well, they're the most similar. So you'll be able to hear what a standard series Strat from Japan versus the Player series versus the Pro series sounds like. Check it out. Hey everyone, I want to thank you for watching the videos that we produce. We put these out to help you choose the right guitar, understand some of the options that are out there, and to showcase some of the latest models that you may not get the opportunity to play in your local music store. If you have benefited or enjoyed watching any of our videos, then I want to tell you how you can help us to make more. We have created a new t-shirt just for guitar nuts like you and me. It's this. It says, "I'm a guitar nut." So if you're like me, you are a guitar nut. And if you're also like me, walking around naked is probably an offense. So we want you to have this shirt. Follow the link, go to our website. These are going to be limited time, and you can put in a pre-order for it now. They will be shipping soon. Once they're gone, they're gone. So follow the link below and get your guitar nut shirt that only you and other guitar players will understand with a knowing wink. Thanks again for watching.